Hello everybody, this is my new project. I'm going to build a pedal board for my acoustic guitar. This time I thought I'd show the process of making it, not just the finished product. So, starting out with a piece of plywood here as the base plate, and things I've prepared earlier is some of the structure here. So most of the pedal board is going to be on this raised section here. So I have a piano hinge here to attach the base plate so that I can always open this thing. And what I haven't done so far is put a couple of clips here that will hold it in when you close it. But this base plate has a back panel. So there's a power switch. So most of this stuff I've salvaged from earlier projects. There's a input panel here, which has a USB connector, a reset switch, and another jack, which I just put in just in case. So that's going to screw into these holes here that I've already cut out. There's a few screw holes there, so that's how that's going to sit, like that. And the power supply, the input jack, going to sit there, and that will sit on top of the pedal board like this. About there. And so the main components I'm going to have in my pedal board are a volume pedal, which this is an old volume pedal I bought ages ago. So and the top plate, which will be fixed to that section there. And the effects units I'm going to have on my pedal board are my atomic amps amplify unit and this Electro Harmonix B9 organ, which I'm going to mount like this. So that's where the input goes. And the idea is that this switching controls the amplifier unit, which is going to have a impulse response file for a Martin 45 or maybe other guitars, and I'm going to have a series of patches for specific acoustic sounds. Won't need that many. And also I'm going to have the Electro Harmonix B9 organ simulator here, and that's the purpose of the volume pedal, so I can fade this in and out of whatever I'm playing and control the amount of organ sound. And if you haven't seen or heard this thing, it's pretty clever. It does a pretty good job. As you can see, I've already done a bit of the work on the hardware. And just to explain what I'm trying to do is, I have this is my pedal board for playing my electrics, and I normally have, you can't see it very well because the light's low, but I normally have my atomic amps amplifier mounted here. So the idea is that I can put the atomic amps, and I've set up hardware to make it easy to take it off. I can mount it here on the electric pedal board, or I can mount it here on my acoustic pedal board, which I'm building, because I'm trying to get into doing an acoustic duo with someone I know, and that's why I want to set this up. So from here, even though I've got that back to front, the switches should go the other way around. Not that's the back panel, but anyway, I think you get it. So the idea from here is that I've got to build the controls. So I'll just take this stuff off. For these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 switches, So I've installed the LED bezels and the switches, and on the back panel I've installed the arduino Mega that's going to be used to do all the controlling. So I'm not stuffing around with LCD displays or anything like that, because I'll be using the display on the atomic amps amplifier to show what patch setting on that, or preset, whatever they call it in amplifier language. So the idea here is this has up to 128 patches on it, presets. So for the electric guitar pedal board, it has 1 to 100. Every song has a patch. So from 101 to 128 will be the acoustic patches. So that's why I can just swap from one to the other. So the idea is that these two switches will bank up and down, patch preset up and down. These 4 switches will control some effects. So this will be a bypass for the whole thing, so you get a straight guitar signal through to wherever it's going. This will be a delay, a reverb, and this will switch the FX on and off. So between these controls and having individual patches on the amplifier unit, be able to go range for some acoustic sounds. And with acoustic guitar, there won't be that many patches, there won't be that many effects. So the next step is to wire it up. So you can see here, just reaching around, on the back panel of this, so you can see with that USB connector and that reset switch there. So on the back panel of this, always the most awkward thing is mounting the power supply. So I've put it in to be mounted something like that. Those little, just like a puzzle really. Yeah, I'll work it out. But the power connector is going to be mounted there. So 2 power supplies, one for the amplifier, one for everything else. Probably only need 1 power supply, but I went with 2. Obviously here's where the amplifier, the Arduino unit goes, and there's a bit of other hardware going on underneath that will become obvious in the end. So that's step 1 really. Next step is to get this wired up and then start doing the program to control it. And what I'll be showing there is these control terminals are mostly what I use for programming. So the next step will be that the switching works that it wants to switch to ground. So all these switches will have a common ground that will connect to the control terminals for the switches, and all the LEDs will have a common positive, and the negative terminals will be on these control terminals as well. So these control terminals here, they start at, let's see if we can get that, they start at 22, so it's 22, 23, so you just need some naming convention, like 22 is the switch, 23 is the LED for switch 1, etc, etc, etc. There's a common ground at one end, I think that there's a common ground at this end, and there's a common voltage, 5 volt voltage at this end that comes from the board itself. There's a couple of terminals here that will be used for sending Midi signal out, and the reset switch goes over here. So the mega board is I could use a much smaller board, like a Uno or even smaller, to do this job, but I already had this. I've salvaged this from previous projects, so a lot of this stuff is from a previous project I did. I've just generally salvaged the parts off it, which I'll be salvaging more parts in terms of some of the resistors and things. So virtually making this out of stuff I had laying around. So I'll start doing that next.